Alexander the Great was one of the most successful military commanders of all time. But history has depicted him as more than just a gifted general. Alexander the Great was a new kind of leader. His unique blend of incredible courage and brilliant tactical planning built the biggest empire the world had ever seen.
Alexander led by example. He was amazingly inspiring. He is a man who lays a very, very cunning strategic plan, but if there is a choice between the safe course and the dashing course, we'll choose the really daring course and completely throw the opposition.
On one occasion in Afghanistan, he faced a seemingly insurmountable task to capture an infamous pinnacle called the Sogdian Rock. Declaring that he had men who could fly, 300 soldiers scaled sheer cliffs to take the defenders completely by surprise. By morning, the rock was his, and so was the beautiful Sogdian princess, his future wife, Roxanne. When the battle was over, Alexander was also a unique ruler. A man with the charisma to convert the different nations he conquered to a single cause.
He was a brilliant public relations person. To have the vision to bring together Greeks, Macedonians, and Persians is remarkable.
Alexander's reputation was forged during his lifetime, and he ensured that it would never be forgotten. But this heroic image is not the whole picture. Alexander's empire-building legacy hides a darker side.
He was a Napoleon. He was a Genghis Khan. He was a terrifying conqueror who, among his other achievements, quite possibly killed more human beings in warfare than anyone else in the history of the world had done up to that date.
This sinister aspect of Alexander is often overlooked, but on it hinges the secrets of his incredible life and the puzzle of his mysterious death. The seeds of Alexander's brutal power were sown in his homeland of Macedonia. Ancient Macedonia was notorious for the fierce infighting that plagued its warrior elite.
The Macedonian nobility is notable for its cruelty. This is a world in which feud, blood feud, murder, violence, these are all the order of the day. And this is what Alexander grows up with thinking to be normal.
A living reminder of the brutal society Alexander came from can still be seen today. The glittering tomb of his father Philip, who was assassinated in front of Alexander's own eyes. Alexander became king of Macedonia at the age of only 20. Macedonia was too small to satisfy Alexander's raging ambition. His sights were set on a greater prize, the Persian Empire. Alexander defeated the Persian armies in battle after battle, and swept down into Egypt. It was here, with the scent of success still fresh in his mind, that Alexander had a revelation which transformed him.
When Alexander came into Egypt and was met by the people, they hailed him as a kind of savior, which indeed he was, because he liberated Egypt from the Persian yoke. They offered him the crown of Pharaoh.
In the Temple of Luxor, carvings still show Alexander as the first European pharaoh. But this wasn't enough for him. Alexander traveled to consult an oracle at the desert oasis of Siwa, and then proclaimed that he was the son of the Greek god Zeus.
You can almost feel the change in him. It sort of confirmed everything his mother had always told him, that he was special, he was different, he was divine. And he then went on to conquer the rest of the known world.
Naming cities after himself wherever he went, Alexander built an empire on the cult of his own personality. But Alexander's personality hid a destructive weakness: alcohol. The Macedonians were the great drinkers of the ancient world, and as king, Alexander took it to new extremes. During one night of heavy drinking, he burnt the Persian city of Persepolis to the ground. And on another drunken occasion, when an old friend questioned Alexander's divinity, he killed him with a spear. For days after the murder, Alexander was filled with remorse and even attempted suicide. Alexander's mental stability increasingly relied on Persians were being given ever more important roles in the army.
They find them being included in their world-conquering, first-class, all-Macedonian units. This is provocative. They have to sit next to somebody who only 2 years before they were trying to slaughter. Well, they don't like it. They don't like it. It was a Macedonian show.
By this time, Alexander's Macedonian officers were openly challenging his wisdom.
The greater and more successful Alexander became, the higher in opinion of himself he had. And the Macedonians did not enjoy his grandiosity. They did not enjoy his unending desire to continue marching to the ends of the world in conquest.
But in 323 BC, Alexander turned his sights on the Arabian Peninsula. His army could scarcely believe it.
They had marched through a lethal desert in southern Iran, and people had suffered appallingly. What were they facing in June 323? My God, another great march into another ghastly desert.
Then, just days before the planned invasion of Arabia, Alexander was drinking heavily at a banquet. Late that night, he became violently ill. After 12 days' sickness, at the age of 32, Alexander died. For centuries, mystery has shrouded the death of the ancient world's most prolific empire builder. Was it alcohol? Was it disease? Or with a growing list of enemies, was it murder?